Welcome, everyone at home and in the audience. Thanks for joining us.
And good morning, doctors.
Dr. Batra. You ready to do this?
Always.
So this first one is, it's right up your alley. It's all about skincare these days and beauty. But I want you to look at these pictures. This is a woman's before and after. What if I told you she rejuvenated her face with fat from a dead person?
Whoa.
Joining us is Dr. Alexander Rivkin, who is using a new filler made from cadaver fat. The question I have, of course, is why? When I heard this, I will acknowledge that my first thought was, who would want cadaver fat in their face, or anywhere for that matter? The creep factor was a 10 out of 10 for me.
That's a good
Anyone
question.
else? Okay, so I want to acknowledge that, but clearly people are less freaked out by it and using this. But I am curious, why?
We use these kinds of human tissue products all the time. So 2 million per year in the United States alone. It's regulated very tightly by the FDA. So we know it's sterilized, it's cleansed, it's safe, and it works. And the advantage is, so you have fat transfer and you have fillers, right? To some degree, this may combine, this is still early. We're early in using this filler, so we're conducting studies at my clinic to figure out how long it lasts for, the effect, and how it behaves in the skin and stuff like that.
I'm a dermatologist, and so I obviously love fillers. I use them all the time, but my concern about this particular one is that when you talk about cadaveric donor tissue, it does go through screening for the things we know about, like HIV, hepatitis, syphilis. But think back to the 1980s, before we knew about HIV, before we knew about hepatitis, we didn't screen for these things. And we really don't know down the line if there is a viral infection or some other infectious source that we haven't screened for now. We could be transferring that to people. And it's one thing to take that risk if it's for something really medically important, like an organ transplant or a blood transfusion. But in this context, you're talking about doing it for something purely cosmetic when there are other really good
Sonia,
fillers
you make a good point, but you are taking that risk with whatever you are using that's cadaveric tissue.
Yeah, exactly. We do use these kinds of product for aesthetic purposes, but your point is well taken. So it's something that we would use carefully, that we would use with investigating it and making sure that the data is there, the safety is there.
I do think there's a huge difference between using cadaveric tissue for reconstruction and necessary procedures, but to me, it just speaks to, and I'm just gonna say this, using it for vanity purposes, I personally, if someone came up to me and said, "Oh, I have cadaveric fat in my face now," it doesn't work for me. But here's the practical question I had is, if I donate my body and my organs, and I'm thinking, okay, hopefully people can use my organs to save their lives, I'm now worried that some company's going to come in and take fat and use it for vanity purposes. That worries me.
You wouldn't be too good because you don't have much fat on you.
First of all, it's actually, when we're talking about using cadaveric fat, we're not actually using the fat. We're taking stuff that's usually discarded, taking out all the cellular elements, leaving just the framework of it, and that's what we're using. And this is something we've been using for decades as part in various different, like Symetra and that kind of stuff.
Proteins
It is
and
for
infectious
sure.
agents from the original donor.
I mean,
and so that's what really kind of concerns
for
me,
more
that
data,
the risk
and I
may
know
be
that
worth
you look
it
at
for
things
something
very
medical,
carefully
but
before you use them. In my mind, I would think you would have a higher incidence, though, of issues using cadaveric versus your own fat.
And separately from your own fat, this actually does go through 4 different antibiotics. It might have foreign proteins for you. So there is a possibility of true allergy to this as well. Anytime you're talking about something.
And that's why we have to. That's why we want to gather all the data. We want to do as much, we want to study it, because the potential of it is interesting. Because currently, as you know, we have with fat grafting, we have a certain rate of success and failure, and it's variable. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. So if we have a product that stimulates your own body fat that actually is reliable and lasts a really long time, and we know that it's safe, that might be something that's actually very useful.
And I do like that angle.
My other concern about that is that this is, I believe this is $2,500 per syringe. So
that's something that is still, we got to figure that out. Again, it's early, so we don't know what the exact price point is going to be, and we got to set it to where it's something that's reasonable for people.